Welcome to another unit in this Excel course. This time I'm going to talk about how we can generate scatter plots and analyze them in more detail by using trend lines. For this, I'm going to use here the data on the two exams. And when I want to introduce a scatter plot, I go to Insert, and then with Charts, here to Scatter Plot. And ideally, I use this version and not the widely connected versions. So I use Scatterplot. I have my Scatterplot here. Then I can click on any of these dots in the Scatterplot and right click and have down here the option of Add Trendline. This allows me to find some structure in my data. For example, I can add a linear trend. This is like if I want to do some basic linear regression here. So I could add this, then display the equation and the corresponding R² here in this chart. So this would be like the linear result. If I want to compare this with other possibilities, I can again select this, go again and add trend line and try different other things. So for example, this is more or less a logarithmic or an exponential or polynomial part, a power relation or whatever, or moving averages. Well, moving averages, as you see, don't really make sense here. So let's try instead, well, let's go with the logarithmic relation. So it's slightly bent. Let's see how much better this is. So for this, I can also get an equation and also can get an R². So if I compare the two results, what I see here is that actually the linear version results in a better R² than the logarithmic version. Well, it's only slightly, but usually the linear version is the more simpler version. So you should go, if you have to decide which model to use, with the simpler version and the one with the better R². So here, both point in the direction of using the linear model. Well, okay, maybe let's try something else. So I erase the linear trend, added a logarithmic trend. Try something else. Like for example, I go with a polynomial, but I make it like order 6. Let's make it order 4. Again, got my equation and my R². And here I see my R² increased by almost 6 percentage points. Well, usually you would think, yay, this actually is very good because this yields a better result. Yes, this is true, but this model is way more complex than the linear version. This usually is also an argument to say, well, to have a here relationship of order 4 somewhere in reality is not as logical or not as well obvious as perhaps a linear relationship. So here the increase by 6 percentage points might be overshadowed by the complexity of the model. So I would generally advise you to go with the more similar version first, and only if this is really a significant increase, so like 20-30 percentage points, then and only if the theory also underlines this argument, only then go with a higher degree of relationship. So here this is basically to compare the models, get a first impression, and well, if we're honest about the results, if we take a critical look on our data, this actually, if any relationship at all is present, it looks more linear than anything else. And well, that's done already everything I wanted to mention here in this context. So it's about how we generate scatter plots and how we can use these trend lines and the different types of trend lines to make sense of what type of data we actually have here. And well, that's done already all there is I wanted to do. And I hope you enjoyed listening to it. And if you want to see additional applications for Excel or using diagrams in Excel, feel free to visit the rest of the course or the corresponding playlist. I say goodbye and see you next time.